well, I peed on a stick and it showed me a bright pink line and the pee ran across and the line was just there in my face like, booyah! Oh my god, I need a bigger car. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about my first trimester. Yes, you heard that right. And you read the title right. I am pregnant in 2024. I came back from Mexico on the 27th of April. So my flight came in on the 27th in Kingston and I got home at around midnight. So that was a Saturday. We left the hotel in Mexico at around 9 o'clock in the morning. So let's say I woke up at 7. So 7 to midnight, what's that, like 17 hours? I don't know if the math is right, around that. So I was literally on go that whole time. So of course on Sunday I was tired. Fine. I was literally on the go for all these hours. I can understand why I'm tired. Monday, your girl's still tired. Tuesday, Wednesday, tired. When I say tired, like have no use for herself. Thursday morning I woke up and I was feeling a lot better. I was like, okay, I was just really tired from that trip. I needed a whole 3 days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 days to recuperate from the trip, because even though the travel day was long, the other days were also long, because each day, the 2 days that we were there, we had full days basically, and then the day that we went there, the travel day was long as well, and the day before that, the travel day was long because I'm leaving from Hanover to Kingston. So them whole 5 days was just a lot. So the fatigue is kind of gone. I'm feeling like my usual self. No, baby K has been weaned since a little bit over 1 year old, but he still likes to put his hand down my clothes. If you watch like my TikTok videos, you'll see him do it in some of those videos. So, you know, every time he does it, I might say no. Sometimes I don't realize, to be honest. But when he was doing that, the Thursday now, I started to have the sore, tender breasts. So I could not stand him putting his hands down there at all. I didn't want to wear a bra, and I'm the type of person that's always in a bra. Sleeping, wake up, always in a bra. The only time I probably not wear a bra is if I'm wearing a shirt that has a shelf bra, or if I'm wearing a swimsuit. So breast crazy tender, crazy sore. Don't want to be touched by nothing. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'm like, all this fatigue and then this breast tenderness. So Sunday, I decided I'm gonna take a pregnancy test. Didn't say anything to the mister. Just went and got the pregnancy test. Came home. When I came home, I showed it to him. And he was like, "You really gonna buy that?" I'm like, "Yeah." I was late, by the way, but it was not unusual for me to be late. Ever since I had baby K, my periods, they come on time in the sense that they're always 2 weeks late. But and they've been weird, because I've even gone and checked hormones to see if I was premenopausal, all of that stuff. But I've always tracked my period, so it's had this pattern of being 2 weeks behind. So apparently my cycle length changed then, because it's always approximately 2 weeks behind. So I was late, but it wasn't the first time I was late, so I was just kind of waiting for my period to come. And while I was in Mexico, and before I went to Mexico, I was having cramping, so I was like, oh yeah, my period's here. So I went to Mexico prepared with all the girly stuff that you need to have for your period, and no period. So I came in, showed him the pregnancy test. He said, "You really gonna do that?" I said, "Yeah, yes sir." And I went to the bathroom. So I got, I think the instructions were 3 to 5 drops in the well. I did 3 drops. I put the test down on the countertop and I dropped the 3 drops, and immediately the pee ran across and the line was just there in my face like, booyah! And I was look at this line. The instruction said to wait 5 minutes. Put it down, wait 5 minutes, and then you check. So when I said, like I said, the 3 drops went in, the pee went right across, the line was immediately pink, and not a light pink. You see, this pink is a bold pink. The line is, the pink is bold and hard. It's a harder line than the test line. You see this, right? So I was like, okay. I slid the thing across and left it for the 5 minutes, and then I said to him, I said, are you gonna go in the bathroom and look at that pregnancy test? Because I wasn't gonna look at it. Because you know, when you do a pregnancy test, if the line is faint, you might think, let me do another test. Maybe this one is a false positive. No, that was a positive. So I called my OBGYN's office, and gladly she now has an office that's closer to me here than the office that I went to when I was pregnant with baby K. So I called that office, and they told me, I called the office on Monday because they're closed on a Sunday. They told me I could come in on Tuesday, and then Tuesday they called and told me that she had an emergency and I'd have to reschedule for Thursday, I believe it was. Yeah, so we did that, and we went in on Thursday. I had baby K with me. So I went into the office and sat down. She was like, okay, so what can I do for you today? I gave her the goodie bag, and she's like, okay, so what's up, you know? I was like, oh, well, I peed on a stick, and it showed me a bright pink line, and she laughed. She was like, ah. She made a little squeal of excitement, and she was like, well, congratulations. I thought you were here to do your pap smear. So she said, well, alright. I told her I was in Mexico, you know, I was tasting all the tequila, all that which you guys saw from the videos. It's just like, that's fine, unless you were drinking like a whole bottle. So it's like, alright, cool, we should be safe. At that point, she said there were tests that we could do at a particular time, but we would talk about that later on. She said, well, let's go see. So we went into the ultrasound room, and we did an transvaginal ultrasound, or she used the transvaginal one for the ultrasound, and we found the baby. Well, we found the, what do you call it? Well, we found, and we heard heartbeats, and baby K was there, and he was playing, he was listening to Cocomelon. So there's Cocomelon in the background, so you won't hear everything. So she was like, she checked the heartbeats and the size, and then she said, it seems like there's just one, but she kept looking around. She's like, oh, do you see that? Do you see that? And what I thought I was seeing was not what she was seeing. I was seeing something like behind the other one, and there was something across from the other one, and then she got that one, and we heard the heartbeat for that one too. And she was like, usually when the sack is this big, it's usually because it's multiples. So I was like, hey. Yeah, so there were 2 heartbeats. I was able to hear both of them. The baby B was measuring a week behind baby A. So she did tell me that there are times when multiples show up on the first ultrasound, and then on a subsequent ultrasound they're not there. And she told me it's called vanishing twin syndrome, and that it happens in around 20% of the population of pregnant women. So 20% around there, that means I have like a 80% chance that I'm having twins at this point. And it was kind of crazy. So got outside, called the mister, and I was like, there's 2 heartbeats. He was like, what you say? So what you say? I said, yep, there's 2 heartbeats. And He said, hold on, I'm gonna have to call you back in 10 minutes. So he ended up calling me back in, it was more than 10 minutes, but he called back and he was like, okay, be for real or be serious or something like that. I'm like, yes, there were two heartbeats. I have a video. I'll send it to you. Fast forward. Okay, so because of the whole discrepancies in the measurements of the babies, she said, all right, so I'm not going to put an EDD based on the ultrasound just yet. Come back in 2 weeks. We'll do another ultrasound to see if they're still there, and then we'll have an idea. Then we'll have an EDD from the ultrasound. I ended up going back in not 2 weeks. It was almost 3 weeks on my next appointment. I didn't record anything then, and I went by myself this time, and there was just one. So she did an abdominal ultrasound first, or that was fun when she was like, "Are you sure it's just 2 weeks that you've been?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's just 2 weeks. It's not 3 weeks yet. It's a little bit over 2 weeks, but it's not 3 weeks yet." And she's like, "This baby is so big." So this baby is now measuring a week ahead, and it's just the one. And she says, "Well, let's do." She does the measurements, checks the heart rate, whatever she's doing for that one, and then she says, "Let me do the transvaginal just to be sure." So then she changes the probe, and we do the transvaginal ultrasound, and there is just one. And she was like, well, you have a history of having big babies. So she did go ahead and put that date into um my little maternity book. I don't really like the ultrasound due dates because I don't think that just because my child is bigger that has anything to do with how properly developed they are. So I'd rather just go with the due date from the last menstrual period, although I know the due date is not like an actual science and it's not like baby's gonna come on that day, but I'd rather to go with that date or a later date than to go with an earlier date based on baby's development, which we will know all of this by the 20-week scan. Anyway, to see if everything is properly developed and if which one of the dates are really the date. But for now, we have a date range. It's what was it? The 12th to the 21st. So that's the range. The December 12th to 21st, based on baby size and my last menstrual period. And if we were to go off of my ovulation window, it would be from the 12th to the 26th of December. So that's what? That's like 2 weeks exactly, which I think is like that anyway. But I would prefer. Um, so she was talking about C-sections because I've had two prior C-sections, and because I have a history of having bigger babies, and because it looks like this baby is gonna be bigger than the last one, and because I am 38 years old, so I'm high risk because I'm 38, and then I'm high risk because I have previous C-sections. I've had one successful vaginal birth after C-section, and I had one failed trial of labor after C-section. So one VBAC, one TOLAC, one failed TOLAC. Um, so it's the chances are it's looking like it's another C-section. Um, if of course I have any other complications throughout the pregnancy, which I haven't had in any of my previous pregnancies, no complications whatsoever. There might be a little chance, but then again, my labor, the one vaginal labor that I had, that labor was long. It went across like 5 days. My cervix just has a mind of its own. It does not move unless it wants to, because with my trial of labor with baby K, I went in at 2 centimeters. They gave me pitocin or whatever they gave me. Overnight, I was awake and walking up and down the whole night, and in the morning, I was at 2.5 centimeters. So with my VBAC, I was in the hospital until when my water broke. I was at 4 centimeters, and that was like around 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had baby at like seven something in the night, 7:30 around that time. So my labors are long, and the other two babies, my water broke, and I never went into labor. Like the first one, they're like, oh, when I got to the hospital, she said, the nurse, I remember the nurse, she said, oh, just go lay down. You're gonna start feeling pain soon. See me here, still awake on pain. Next day, more than 24 hours passed, and no pain, no dilation, no nothing. And with the second, which was the VBAC, I actually was having contractions, but I didn't know they weren't painful. Some of them were painful, some of them were not. I didn't know I was having contractions until one morning. They were doing their ward rounds, and the doctor was talking to the team, and she put her hand on my stomach and she looked at me. She turned around. She wasn't looking at me when she did it initially, and she turned around and she looked on me puzzled. She's like, "You're having a contraction," and I was like, "She's like, you're not in pain?" I'm like, "No, I just feel tightness, but I don't call it pain." She's like, "You're having a contraction." So while I was in the hospital, I was there having contractions, but as I say, some of them were painful and some of them were not. And the ones that were painful, they were never regular. But I had not known about that whole tightening of my uterus thing. So now I know I would be able to time my contractions now if I had them. But that is besides the point. Next visit is my end of first trimester visit, and there's a little part of me that hopes that when I go to that visit, Doc will find the other baby, because we were a little excited. I mean, I was scared out of my mind, but I was excited. And I remember the first thing that I thought when she said that I was gonna have twins, that she found a second baby. It was like, oh my god, I need a bigger car. And then I was thinking about all these things. Oh, we need to add a room to the house. And it was scary, but it was exciting. But it's like you don't even know, like it's not something that you want, but you don't even realize that you want it until you can't have it. It's like when I heard that, when we found out it was just one day, I was like, I feel a little ways. And he was like, yeah, me too. We were a little bit excited underneath the anxious, scary part, scariness of just the thought of having twins in our old age, and just wondering how the hell I was gonna manage, and knowing that I definitely need to hire a nanny, and not knowing how that would work, and not knowing how the space in the house would work, and not knowing if we would be able to afford to add on a room in 9 months, and all of that. All that went through my mind. I don't know if it went through hubby's mind, but all that went through my mind, and it was crazy, but it was exciting. And then when it was just one, it was a little bit sad. And as I say, I'm hoping that at my end of first trimester visit, we find the other one, and they were just kind of hiding behind the baby, and that's why the baby looked so big, because it was really two. I've done like I've read about this, like what are the chances that you don't see multiples in an ultrasound early on? And they say there is a chance that you won't see them based on how the babies are positioned. But I think it's unlikely because she also did a trans vaginal um, ultrasound examination. So I think it's unlikely. But there's still a little part of me that hopes that that is gonna be the case when we go see the doctor this week at the end of my 13th week. But let's see, that's what's coming up next.